There have already been a lot of interesting stories so far this season, but one of my favorites has to be Norman Powell possibly having the best season of his career at 31 years old. This dude went from coming off the bench for the last 2 seasons to leading the entire Clippers roster in scoring, and that's a roster with James Harden on it. So far, he's averaging 10 more points per game than he did all of last season and has scored 20 or more points in 19 of his 26 total games. He's been playing extremely well literally every single night and is genuinely one of the most consistent players in the league right now. I mean, he only has 1 game under 10 points. There are star players with more games under 10 points this season. But not only has he been consistent, he's been super clutch. It feels like every time the Clippers need a big-time bucket, Norman Powell is there to get it done. He doesn't shy away from those moments whatsoever. His stat lines are obviously impressive, but how he's scoring and when he's doing it is even more impressive. People were calling his season a hot start when it first started, but at this point, it's just normal. When Paul George left the Clippers to join the 76ers, Norman made it very clear that he's been waiting for this moment and said the situation was addition by subtraction. Meaning, yeah, they might have lost Paul George, but they increased the role of someone who is now playing even better. We knew he was going to take a jump this season, but I didn't think he would become one of the highest scoring guards in the league. Right now, he's putting up all-star caliber numbers. The only thing that could stop him is the fact that he plays in the Western Conference. He's averaging 24 points, 3 rebounds, and 2.5 assists a game, which are great numbers, but it's his efficiency that puts him over the top. He's shooting 49% from the field and 45% from 3 while taking over 8 attempts a night. Those are some of the most efficient shooting splits in the entire NBA. We've seen several flashes of this type of play from him over the course of his career, but this year is just different. He put up really solid numbers in his last year with the Raptors and even for the Blazers. He just wasn't given the opportunity to be a top scoring option. Plus, in previous years, he was dealing with certain injuries that kept him out of some of the games before joining the Clippers. And let's not forget how the Clippers even got him in the first place. They traded for him and Robert Covington for Eric Bledsoe, Justice Winslow, Keon Johnson, and a 2025 second-round pick, which is way worse than it sounds. The Clippers got Norman Powell and Rocco, while the Blazers got Eric Bledsoe, who hurt his Achilles and never played a single game for them before retiring. Then they got Justice Winslow, who's no longer in the NBA, and Keon Johnson plus a second-round pick. The Blazers got absolutely fleeced, which is kind of funny because they also fleeced the Lakers when they got Zubac. I don't know what the Clippers GM is saying to these opposing teams, but this man could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. This current team is full of underdogs, and Norman Powell is making every team that slept on him pay. He's got one of the best offensive bags a shooting guard can have. None of his moves are really all that flashy, but they are definitely effective. Norman's a 3-level scorer, and it feels like the more contested the shot is, the better of a chance it has to go in. That difficult shots badge has got to be on Hall of Fame. He plays super free and loose. He almost bounces into his shots when he's in a groove. His body language alone will tell you if he's feeling it or not. We know he can knock down threes at a high clip, but he can also get to the paint and score pretty easily for someone who's 6'4". Not to mention his mid-range game, which is up there with the best. He can score from anywhere on the court, which will come up huge once it's time for the playoffs. And he's also one of the streakiest players I've ever seen. There's times where he gets into these rhythms where he just can't miss, and those solo stretches alone are enough to win you a few games. But a massive reason Norman Powell is able to score at such a high clip is because that's all he has to focus on. James Harden by himself accounts for 80% of the Clippers' playmaking, so Norman's able to stick to what he does best. We even saw this when he had arguably his best game against the Nuggets in October. He had 37 points and not a single assist. He was the biggest reason they won that game, and he did it all while not even thinking about passing the ball, which usually isn't a good thing, but again, you can easily get away with it when you have James Harden on your team. The whole starting lineup coexists perfectly. At the time of me making this video, the team has a record of 19 wins and 14 losses, which in the West is pretty solid. And the most impressive part is that they're doing all of this without Kawhi Leonard. Their offense has been pretty solid, but it's actually been their defense winning them games. They have the 5th best defensive rating in the league while also allowing some of the least amount of points per game. They've had 9 different games where they've allowed less than 100 points. And if that isn't the most in the league, then it's definitely up there. They're doing a lot better than I think most people thought they would, and although Norman Powell has been extremely good, multiple other players have been too. Zubac has been one of the best bigs in the league this season, I'm not even kidding. He's averaging over 15 points and 12 rebounds a game, all while playing well on both sides of the floor. His impact on the game has been huge, and it feels like he's only getting better as the season goes on. He's played 33 games this season and has gotten double-digit rebounds in 28 of them. He's 4th in rebounds per game on the season and also has 24 games with double-digit points. Even though Zubac isn't a high-flying big, he's still a perfect fit with Harden. The high-flying lobs instead go to Derrick Jones Jr., who was catching similar types of passes from Luka Doncic last year. Derrick was born to play with an elite playmaker and has also been surprisingly holding his own on defense. For $10 million a year, he's been a massive steal. And obviously you can't talk about the Clippers' success without mentioning James Harden. He's averaging 22, 6, and 8 while being the main offensive force. Harden has gotten a lot of criticism in the past about his offensive system, but this year he's been proving a lot of people wrong. As much as the media makes him out like he's this horrible locker room guy, his teammates seem to love him and he's been a great leader while Kawhi has been out. Plus those players around him fit really well, which has made his job a bit easier. And what's crazy is he's not even shooting well. He's shooting under 40% from the field, which would be the worst of his career. And I'm saying that's more of a good thing than a bad thing. It's obviously not good that he's missing his shots, but once they start to fall, the Clippers are going to be even more dangerous. And speaking of being even more dangerous, Kawhi is expected to finally be making his debut in early January. I've talked this long about the Clippers roster and haven't even really mentioned their future Hall of Fame player that is getting paid $50 million a year. If he's healthy, then this team really could make a playoff push. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time Norman Powell and Kawhi have made a playoff push together. But seriously, I am curious to see what they'll look like with him back. I'm sure Powell's numbers will go down a bit, but at the same time, I also wouldn't doubt that the Clippers are going to ease him in and not immediately expect him to play 40 minutes a game. It all really depends on how healthy he is, and with so many players doing well, it should take a pretty big weight off his shoulders once he comes back. We might be witnessing the worst version of this Clippers team, and I honestly hope they are able to put something together because I really like what Steve Ballmer and the Clippers organization are doing. Winning a big playoff series in their new arena would be pretty incredible. And for Norman Powell, he's already in talks to win the Most Improved Player award. Although I feel like it's pretty clear at this point, he's been this good. All he needed was more shots and minutes. Either way, the fact that he's doing things at 31 that he hasn't done his whole career is really cool to see. And who knows, once teams have to focus on Kawhi and Harden every night, Norman might be getting even better looks than he is right now. So don't be surprised if you see him shooting 80% from the field and 70% from 3 by the end of the year. But let me know what you think about Norman Powell down in the comments, and please leave a like on the video to support the channel. Also subscribe if you're new for more basketball videos just like this one.